It's time to get those grapes in order. Today on Let's Wine a Little, we explore storing your wine and committing to growing a wine collection. Welcome to Let's Wine a Little. Okay, where do we start? Let me give you a little bit of my history, because then maybe you can understand where I'm coming from and you're probably in the same place. But I recall getting the first couple of bottles of wine, and I remember wanting to keep them someplace. So I immediately went with a small wine rack that I thought was really cute because it matched my apartment, had all the right colors, but it only held like 6 bottles. And when I really got into tasting wines and exploring the wines, I realized I was running out of room really quick. So that's when it hit me. I gotta start looking for a place to store these. Now, I had heard stories about wine being so old that it became vinegar. And I had read about when the cork dries out, it starts to crumble into your bottle of wine. And all I could think was, I don't want that to happen to any of the wines that I brought home. So I went hunting, and I thought, I need to get one of those countertop wine fridges, because that will help me keep all my wine together. All right, let me go ahead and fast forward. We quickly outgrew a lot of these options, but we're going to talk about storing your wine. Now, let's go over a couple of things, because a lot of us are thinking, well, it looks great on my countertop, it looks great on the shelves. Unless you have no plans on drinking it, and I have a couple of bottles that will never be opened. It is strictly there for decoration. But unless you don't plan on drinking it, you want to make sure that you store your wine properly. And here's a few reasons why. One, it preserves the taste, the aroma, and the overall quality of your wine. Temperature control, humidity levels, light exposure, and bottle positioning, they all play into how your wine tastes. Now, I'm trying to think. There was a moment when my parents were gifted a bottle of wine. And that bottle of wine clearly had been stored someplace that wasn't quite right, because when they opened it, oh my goodness, it was awful. It was awful. So how you store the wine also impacts its overall character. Just a little FYI, if you're trying to give out a gift and it's been sitting around, yeah, put them on the side. Put them on the side. So think about this. Without the right conditions, your wine can very well spoil, or it also may age prematurely. Now, again, I believe most of us get a bottle from the store or the big box wine store, and we're looking to enjoy within, 2-3 months. Very few of us are trying to hold on to things for a year. I have done longer than that, depending on what it is, waiting for that special occasion. But most of us are looking for 2 to 3 months. But we're going to give you a lot of options today to help you figure out how you need to store your wine. So here's a couple of things. Let's talk about temperatures while we're speaking about keeping the wines in the right place to maintain its character. For white wines, you want to aim for a storage temperature around 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 7 to 10 degrees Celsius. That keeps the white wines cool enough to preserve their crispness and their acidity. without muting their flavors. And I am certain some of you have probably tasted a wine that was a little on the warm side and it feels kind of funny in your mouth. Yeah, probably because the temperature was not right. And although I don't mind drinking the wine when it's warm, I don't want it out the bat warm, right? Like I've had it with my own wine fridge. I had a Chardonnay that I thought, ooh, this is entirely too warm, just from like the moment I sipped it. So think about the temperature that you're keeping your wine in so that it doesn't, again, lose that character, lose the acidity, lose all the flavors that you are looking for when you try that wine. And if there's anything else that we can say, you do want to make sure that that temperature is consistent. That's going to play a part in there too. All right, let's talk about red wines. People are like, what about red? What about rye? It should be room temperature. All right, so you want to store your red wines at a slightly warmer temperature, around 55 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit, and then 13 to 18 degrees Celsius. Again, that helps them maintain their complexity and allows them to age gracefully. Just like your white wines, you want to make sure that you keep a consistent temperature so you can avoid negatively impacting your wine's quality. All of those things matter. Now that we have that out of the way, all the science out of the way, let's get into how to store those wines, shall we? All right, first up, wine racks. Now, this is the wine storage system that I believe a lot of us start with. I found a beautiful 6-bottle wine rack, and I loved it. And then realized I was outgrown it. Now, here's what's great about the one that I had, is that it had it where the bottles were angled down, so the cork was always moist. It was never given the opportunity to dry out, which you want to think about. But wine racks come in a variety of styles. You have them for the countertop, you have them where they can be wall mounted, you have them where they can be floor mounted, they can go floor to ceiling. There is a plethora of ideas when it comes to wine racks. You really want to find which one works best for you. I have seen freestanding wine racks that can be moved to a variety of places. Here's what I say you want to look for. Okay, beyond making sure it matches your decor. I know that may seem like that's minimal, but I just believe it should look good in your house as well as looking good doing what it's supposed to do. But those are my priorities. Beyond it looking well, it should also function well. So if you're going to do something that is freestanding or is wall mounted, you may want to look for other options to help secure it to the wall in the event it becomes a little top heavy. Keep in mind, you are storing liquid in glass. And there is nothing worse than any kind of wine rack getting a little unstable due to the height and then it falling over. So think about that. When you are installing it on the wall, not that you have to have a stud, but just make sure you are using the proper hardware. If it requires toggle bolts, if it requires an anchor, make sure all of that is done. Now, most of the wine racks that I have seen can be done by any person at home. If you feel like your project is bigger and needs a little bit more expertise, then I would hire some handy person to help you get that done. Countertop wine fridges. Are these not the best? Oh, they are the best. They're great for small collections, but they're also great in wine bar areas. I know some people who keep the countertop wine fridge in the bar area so that they can have the wine ready and chilled for when their guests come, and they don't have to travel far to do it. I myself also like to keep one in the kitchen for the wine I'm going to grab immediately or that I want to drink ASAP. So typically I may have some champagne in there. There may be a couple of whites, maybe a light red, but I keep it in there just so I can go. Depending on the kind you get, most of them do have shelves that are accessible so that you can change it based on the size of the bottle. Champagne bottles tend to be on the larger side, so they do require more space. Whereas some of your other bottles, red wines, white wines, and even your ports or your cordials, they tend to have a smaller bottle, a Riesling, so you can get more in that countertop wine fridge. Now, the next thing we have are those underneath countertop fridges. And you can find them sometimes built into the counter or a sliding space where you can pull it in or pull it out. Really depends on what you're looking for. I have found that although I love a great built-in, I really do, if I have to have any work done, do I have immediate access? That's my question for whether or not I want to go built-in. I love a built-in. I believe they are beautiful. But then every blue moon, if you have to fix something, change out a filter, and it is a headache to get in, all of a sudden that great idea is not a great idea. So consider that. Now, what's also great again about these under cabinet wine fridges, it blends in with your decor. And some of them also have a place where you can not only store wine, but you can also store other beverages in there as well. It could be sodas, it could be beers. Some of them have it where you have a space for ice. There is a variety of options when it comes to that under cabinet wine fridge. But it's also a good spot for the medium, just a small to medium wine collector. Plenty of room in this option. Now, if by chance you have an older home or you are not even about to invest in taking out some space to slide this in, the great thing is these smaller wine fridges will work in any space. So if you go with a freestanding under counter wine fridge, you can find a space to still keep your collection at hand, but not have to put it into the kitchen, into a dedicated space. So consider that as well. That's also another option. All right, we are moving into the space for the serious collectors. I didn't think I was gonna go there, and before I knew it, I was there. Now let me just step back a hot second to let you know what's going on. We were given a wine fridge as a wedding gift. Beautiful idea. Love it. It does wonders in the kitchen. When someone comes over or I'm feeling like I want to grab something quick, pop, I grab it, I'm good. We also have an under-counter fridge. My husband got it free with his bank points. And in that one, we kept a lot of champagne and then some of our memorable bottles that we're never going to open. We have to keep them somewhere, so they're in there and it works. It's also a place where if we're going to have a dinner party and have people over, we keep the wines we're going to serve in that fridge as well. And then I learned I was really into wine and collecting wine. And I made it my mission to find what I consider the best wine fridge for me. So now we're talking about your 6-foot plus wine fridges that again can be built in or can be freestanding. Now for some of us, our kitchens are already done. So to hire somebody to come in and redo the kitchen for this one thing, that could be a lot. It could be a lot. And keep in mind, you're now putting a second fridge in your kitchen. I have seen some of these newer kitchens They have plenty of space for the food and the cocktails. I love it. Love it dearly. We didn't have that option. So we've got the freestanding fridge. And what's great about this is that not only does it have shelves that are removable, it has lights, climate control, but there are two separate spaces to keep the climate different. So I can put the whites at the top, or I can do the reds and the champagnes at the bottom, or vice versa. Now I actually went for the champagne at the bottom because they're bigger bottles, so I needed more space. And I kept all the lighter fare at the top. Keep in mind, some of your under-counter wine fridges, depending on how tall they are, may also have two different climates available in that fridge. But a freestanding wine fridge is definitely something for those who are looking to invest in their wine collection. Or they just entertain a lot. Or it could be both. At the end of the day, there are a number of freestanding fridges, again, that can also be built in, that allows you to keep your collection close at hand. And if you are going to be storing red wine for a length of time, then the temperature is going to change for what you have it in. Depending on the champagne you have, and not all champagnes can be stored for a long time, so check the vintage. But that too, this is a great place to put the wines you're wanting to keep for more than, I'm going to say 6 months plus. So there is a lot of wine in my wine fridge. Sometimes I forget how much is in there. But I do like how there is a light so I can see what's going on most of the time. I forget what's in the back of the fridge, even though all the shelves do slide out. But it was one of the best gifts I gave to myself. And as a person who is now knee deep, no, I am waist high in collecting wine, my wine fridge serves me well. Now these next few options, these are the options where I go to a place of, we're about to talk about some change. And we are about to talk about people who are really dedicated to wine. Now, I will tell you, if I ever come into a really good chunk of money, I am going to create a tasting room. I want a room where I can go in, see my wine, refrigerate it, because I don't really like it on the wall like that. But have a place to enjoy a little music, a little cheese, a little fruit, a little sweet something, and then enjoy my wine. I want a tasting room. Some other options are also to have a wine cellar. Now, in each of these, we have to think about the climate. You gotta think about the humidity. So, if I may, when I talked about the freestanding wine fridge, although it is a fridge, that fridge must be kept in a climate controlled area. Now, originally I thought I was gonna put this fridge in the garage. Not great, because it gets really hot, it gets really cold. So that fridge is in my home. So moving forward, even if you were to do a wine cellar or a tasting room, you have to think, what is the consistent climate like? Keep that in mind as we're talking about these. So wine cellar is definitely there for those who want to collect a lot of wine. And I have seen some really amazing wine cellars where they have the shelving built into the wall, which is great. Personally, I prefer all of my bottles to be on its side so that the cork stays moist. But every now and then you may want to show off a certain bottle to have one or two standing upright. Again, long-term storage is not a great idea. Short-term, it's not going to make that big of a difference. But think about keeping your wine safe and protected and preserving it. But a wine cellar's up there. You also may want to look at wine cabinetry. Now, here's the deal. Wine cabinets, they are stylish and they are functional and they are heavy. I highly suggest that whoever you're working with to put in your wine cabinets, that they are, a contractor. Somebody who understands the weight of the world is on your wall as well as your collection. When items get top heavy, when shelving gets top heavy, it's going to pull away. Now, when we're talking about cabinetry, we are looking at straight up good old construction here, right? So there should be little clips and things to keep your cabinet attached to the wall to keep it nice and level, but check the weight and check how it's installed. Typically, and I know I've said typically 18 times, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. You wanna hit some studs because it's heavy. Stuff gets really heavy. Wine bottles get heavy. So just make sure that you're checking that, but it can look amazing in your space when you're getting your wine cabinets done. Now, me, myself, when I was shopping, I checked out Wine Enthusiast. They also have a website. They have a plethora of wine storage ideas, and they also have the people who can come in and install it properly. So make sure that you're checking that out. Okay, so now let's talk about organizing your wine because we've covered a great deal. And I have to admit, I don't organize my wine to a certain degree, but I'm kind of there, kind of not. But here are some ways to organize your wine in terms of categories. You can keep it organized by region. You can keep it organized by type of grape. You may also look at the type of wine it is. Now, I will say this, my champagne bottles take up room. We'll take it back. The champagne bottles, the sparkling wine, the cava, the Prosecco's, yes, they take up room. So they are, because of their size, all in the same area. You also may want to store your wines based on the aging potential. If you know you're not going to be serving this wine anytime soon, and I will go ahead and put you on a little secret. I have a bottle of Hello Kitty wine that will never see the light of day. I know, it's awful, right? Because part of me says I should just go ahead and drink it, but I don't want to open the bottle. I'm conflicted. Having said all that, it is at the very bottom of my wine fridge because I don't want it to be in the way. So there are different ways to store your wine in terms of categories. Now, the second thing you could also do, which I just really haven't done it, is to use a wine app to keep your wines organized. There are a number of apps that will help you not only put in the deep details about your wine, when you bought it, where it's from, current price, wine label, region, type of wine, type of grape, tasting notes. But if you get a smart wine fridge, and yes, they do exist, you can even tell it where it is on what row, what shelf in your wine fridge. Now, I'm not there yet. I like to organize my wine, but I'm really fixated on drinking it within a certain time frame. So me knowing where the wine is on the shelf, I don't need to get that details. But I do like to keep the wine labels. I do like to know what my last price was because it goes up, it goes down. Is it on sale? Do I have a discount? And I do like to keep tasting notes. Now, if by chance you're just getting started, you're like, ooh, that's just too much for me. What you can always do is use your note app in your phone. Now, most phones come with a native note-taking app. If you're out and about, if you're in your home, you really like a wine that you have tasted, take a picture of the wine label, front and back, if there is a back. Write your notes down and put that in your note-taking app. Easy peasy. You can collect a whole folder, and then when you're out at the store, you can look for that particular wine. That is exactly what vino does. It allows you to take a picture of the wine label, keep all these notes in place, but share your wine findings with a community of other people who enjoy wine. So the sky is the limit, but you get to choose how you want to organize and categorize your wine. Oh, So now we're at the place where you get to decide what works best for you and your wine collection. Maybe you're just in the beginning, so a couple of wine racks is just right for you. Or maybe you're thinking, I would love to have something to keep my wine chilled and start growing my collection. The holidays is right around the season, but I am always great for a just because gift. Like, Sally, I heard you love wine. Ta-da! So make sure you keep a list of what looks good to you. Again, I highly suggest checking out wineenthusiast.com. There's so many ideas for storing your wine, enjoying your wine, traveling with your wine. They have wine luggage. Wine luggage. Why didn't they have that a couple of years ago when I was out traveling and having to ship things back on my own? Until next time, see you then.